So welcome back. The next job, as you can see, is fitting all the insulation into the framework, and as you can see, that's why the blocks are there. The insulation sits in there. I've done all the back row apart from a couple of extra long ones over there which I need to cut long ways out of the board. So cutting this insulation foam is pretty easy, as most, not all of my frames are 14.5 inches, sorry, width. What I do is I just measure off on here my 14.5, which is there, and this stuff's easy to cut. All I do is put my level across there to the two lines, and with a standard saw cut the board off, and I will do literally, I will cut this piece into all 14.5 sections in one go. Bang bang bang, done. Then I'll measure each one, because obviously where they're offset and they're not dead on, there's slightly different measurements, so you just measure from there to there and then measure it there to there and just cut off the excess. It's very easy. Fit it in, and then we move on to the next job, which will be filling and doing the gaps. So there will be some bits where there's little gaps like there and there, so we will get our foam, fill these gaps up. If they're little tiny gaps, I'm not bothered, but any big gaps we're going to fill with foam, and then we're going to tape it all up. So that will be the next stage I'll show you, which I'm going to start doing soon, because obviously if I do this whole area I won't be able to get to the middle here very easily. Yes, I can walk on these boards here, but we don't want to walk on any of these, so you've got to be very careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that back section, and then as I'm working along here I shall start taping up all of these and taping these ones, and I'll tape them all individually as I work my way down, just because it's easier for me to do it that way. So anyway, as I'm on my own I can't really do it properly, but be aware, the saw is the best way to cut these, but it will kill the saw. I don't know how, because it's only foam, but apparently it kills the saw blade. So if you've got a saw that you want to use for wood, don't use it. Buy a cheapy one just for this job. But that one was a cheap one, a nice set of 3 from Aldi for a really cheap price, so ideal for the job. So anyway, I shall come back when I'm doing the next stage, but as you can see, progress is really taking shape now, and it won't be long before we can put all the floorboards down. But as you can see, there is a big tarpaulin there. There is a reason for that, and that is these mustn't get wet. We don't want them getting wet. It will damage the foam. It can actually, where the foam's all sort of, it's like a stuff, it can all start coming apart. A little tiny bit of water isn't going to hurt, but we don't want to leave them out to the weather. And also the next job will be putting the flooring on, and I do not want that getting wet either. So we have our nice big massive tarp which covers the whole thing, and that will stop it from getting wet. So anyway, we shall see you shortly. Right, so as I mentioned, obviously need to fill gaps. You'll get bits stuck up like this. Once it's dry, ouch, mind splinters, you can just, sorry about the light, sun's behind me, so just pull off the excess. You can literally just pull it off with your fingers. Same with all this, it'll just come off. And then what you need to be doing is putting this tape on. I bought this in Screwfix. It's only £2.99 a roll in Screwfix, whereas the roll I bought from Wix, £6, same length. All right, it's backed. The roll from the roll in wicks was backed, whereas this isn't, but it's fine. It's actually probably easier to lay this quicker. So I shall carry on putting these boards in, taping them all up, and I'll come back to you in a bit. That's pretty much it. I mean, laying the tape's easy enough, just make sure it's covering both sides. And obviously where there's a double thickness board there, I've put 2 lots, so it'll be quite easy. So at the end of today's work, I've still got a little bit left to do. Those 2 back rows are done completely, and I've done some of these rows. What I did want to say was how I'm working is, so I put this one in, tape up that edge and that edge, then put the next one in, tape up that edge, and so on, work my way down, and then work my way down this side, because obviously if I was to just put them all in and then tape up, I'd have to either try and step very carefully over all the beams or lay boards down and climb across. It's just a lot easier to tape up one at a time. And obviously I'm hoping tomorrow that I'll get finished. I was a bit delayed today because we had sleet this morning, so that took a few hours out of my day. I would have probably had this finished by then. So anyway, that's the progress so far. I'm hoping tomorrow, like I said, to finish this and maybe start getting the boarding down as well. And so I'll see you in the next video, in the next part of the video. Well, the insulation is all done. I was going to take the tarp off and show you, and it suddenly started doing this, so that will have to wait, I'm afraid. But like I said, the insulation is all done. Now just got to put the floorboards on. So I won't show you that. It's going to be, you know, it's pretty easy to just lay a board flat and screw it in. I think you'd all know how to do that one. Right, so the snow has stopped, so I managed to get the boards up. As you can see, that's all insulated and taped, and I'm going to start laying the boards from this corner, making sure they're straight down that edge. If there's any overhang like there is here, just a tiny bit, I'll cut that all off with the circular saw at the end. I'll just put a line with a clamp or screw a button down and cut a straight edge off later. Obviously that's because it's not 100% square. I did my best, but sometimes you can't do everything. And the miss is hard at work as usual. Right, so the flooring is all down, as you can see. I've had a couple of issues. As you can see, there's wet patches there. There's a wet patch there. And there's another one up there somewhere. So the big tarpaulin has got some leaks in it, and there's a bit of water, so I need to get all that dried off. And when I was doing the boards, as you can see, there's a big cut line. I mismeasured it, so I took it off, turned it around, redone it, and now I've got a bit of a cut mark there. So, and there's a couple of little joins up the back there that have got some gaps, but that's not a problem. So what I've done, just grab it, is when I was sawing all this wood, I saved that pot of sawdust. I'm going to mix that up with PVA and make a wood filler, and I'm literally going to just fill all the gaps with that. Any gaps on there can be filled with that stuff, let it dry, and just purely because of the leaks in there, I'm going to paint the base. I'm going to paint it with the oil based, not water based, because the water based will soak into the OSB, damage the OSB and start it flaking. So there's a pro tip for you. If you're using OSB for anything, never use water based paints. You should prime it really, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to paint it with the oil based paint. It's just for a waterproofing while I'm building more than anything else. Once the thing's built, you'll have a carpet inside, you won't even see the paint. But I'm also going to, if I've got any left over, paint all the edges there. as well, just because it's got a 10-year, you know, life on it, so it'll extend the life of all the beamwork and stuff anyway, even though they're already treated timbers, so it'll help. So I'm going to get on with that, and I'll see you all soon for the next part. So thanks for watching. Right, so I've painted all the top with this paint. I just wanted to explain, you don't really need to do this stage. Where these boards are at is well off ground level, so they're not going to get moisture, and they're not going to get wet once the walls are on here at the edge. And then I'm going to have plastic sheeting all down the sides, going all the way down to this point, and then I'm going to have the cladding coming down as well, so that it's going to be fully waterproofed from the outside, so moisture isn't going to come up that high and through all the insulation and get in there. So you don't actually need to do this, but I've done this purely because, like I said, there's 3 holes or so in the tarp, so when I do put the tarp on, I don't want the wood getting ruined with that water. So I've done this just to give it an extra protection, and then when I start building the walls, it's going to be a short period of time without any protection, so at least this way, if it does get a little bit wet, I can just brush it off. It shouldn't soak in, it won't soak in. Anyway, that's that done. So the next stage is to start all the walls, so hopefully it won't take too long. I've got the whole week, so I've got plenty of time to get this bit done. I've got all the roof joists being delivered tomorrow, so that's going to take maybe a couple of days to build the walls and get the roof on, and then have it waterproofed, so it won't be so much of an issue, and then I can carry on with the inner insulation, boarding, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, that's the end of this part of the video. I'll see you in the next one.